fill your thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands.
Okay. Welcome to Healing Outside the Box. This is our 123rd show, and I am Lisa Burton. I'm a heart-centered lifestyle coach. My co-host Rosemary could not be with us tonight, so we look forward to her return shortly. And we are the hosts of a thought-provoking series that's dedicated to providing you with food for thought information and answers to all modalities of alternative healing, spiritual development, animal welfare, environmental concerns, and so much more in the form of guest speakers who are experts in their fields. If you know of any subjects that you would like us to discuss, or if you know of anyone who you think would make an interesting guest, please do let us know. And please like us on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box, where you can learn about and see pictures of some of our past guests and ask questions or leave a comment. So I hope you enjoy the show. And tonight we are very blessed to have Coleen Behan with us. Welcome, Coleen.
Thank you, Lisa.
Nice to have you.
It's great to be here.
And Coleen is a metaphysical teacher. The title of our show tonight is Living Light, L-I-G-H-T. So that's an acronym. And Coleen will explain that to us shortly. I'm going to give you a brief bio about Coleen. Coleen is an incredible spirit having an amazing human experience. I like that. Her healing journey began in 1990, and over the last 2 decades, she has studied and acquired certifications in several modalities of healing that include EMF balancing and spiritual psychology. She's also a rebirthing facilitator who has studied the human energy field through the work of Peggy Phoenix Dubrow. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And Barbara Brennan, among other accredited teachers. In 2009, Coleen founded the Spirit of Light with the primary intention of supporting the highest levels of consciousness and evolution. In her practice, she engages in protocols to enhance personal growth, spiritual development, and energetic work which supports self-mastery. In 2010, through her work with the Pineal Gland? Pineal Gland,
yeah.
She developed the Cranial Temple Activation Certification course. Since then, she has certified over 200 CTA practitioners in the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. It is her mission to be a beacon of light to those that are wanting to see more of who they are and to be an agent of change to help them become their greatest potential. To help them become great navigators of life, speak the language of the universe, and know where they are going, even when they don't recognize where they are. That's a wonderful statement in itself.
Sounds like a lot.
Well, we're very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And I'm thinking first to set the stage here, maybe we could define what the light means.
Yes, that would be great. So, in the world of healing, for years we've used the word light in many different ways. Follow the light, be the light, light language, light workers. There's so many different terms that we've used with that, and I myself have used the term light so easily and frequently. And when I started this work, light started to take on a different meaning for me. And I asked the question one day, I said, what is light anyway? I want it defined more in human terms so I can understand it. What is the characteristic of it? Tell me more. I didn't want to just take for granted that it was just something unseen that we just could have faith in. It felt bigger than that to me. And then I got the acronym. It came, and I wrote it down. And so LIGHT stands for love, integrity, gratitude, humility, and truth.
Oh, beautiful.
That has become the foundation of my work. And what I've learned is when you are living those 5 principles at once, miracles occur all the time. It can't not happen, basically. The challenge is that we are human And we do have emotions and conditioning that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. So living light is not so easy, and it is something that we have to be very mindful of and practice. And it really does involve getting the subtle body and the energy body activated and awakened, because that's part of the process.
Okay. So, how did your spiritual journey evolve? Was there something that inspired you quickly, or was it more of a evolutionary process for you?
It was definitely evolutionary. I think I've already named my biography. It's called Seeing in the Dark.
Oh, wow.
Which really tells the tale of my life. Having what some would consider a very challenging childhood. And I've always had this light around me, I guess, and no matter what was happening in my life, even in my teens, I struggled greatly, and in my early 20s, I suffered a lot of loss and hardship, and I always knew that there was something out there greater than what I was seeing. So that just kept me connecting to and seeking out different ways of understanding the unseen universe. And so I started with astrology as a teenager, which moved into tarot cards. So I had a fascination with tarot cards, and then I started to read the tarot cards in my late teens, and I got pretty good at it. I was reading the regular playing card deck, and I really enjoyed it. And I was doing it for a living for a while. And I think that really helped to build my intuitive nature, which was really just connecting me to, the greater source, basically.
Right.
And then that would bring me to different avenues of healing. And right around maybe my 23, 24, I was about that old, I really submerged myself into my own healing. I had been doing that since I was 19, but I think it just really took on an oath and a commitment to myself, and started a emotional healing, which really opened me up spiritually.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been evolving for a long time.
Okay. Wonderful. So I'm wondering, I always have a challenge with this word, but should we talk about the pineal gland?
Pineal.
Pineal gland.
Yes.
Okay. I'm wondering if you can give us a little bit of physical description of it for us that haven't had biology for a while, and give us a little bit of overview that way also.
Sure. The pineal gland is a tiny gland. It's in the center of the brain, but it is not part of the brain. It's situated in between the two hemispheres.
Okay.
And it is responsible for secreting melatonin, which is the sleep pattern and our circadian rhythms. And it works in conjunction with the hypothalamus and the pituitary. And so there are biological aspects of these glands. And in my work, the focus is the pineal gland, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the thymus. So, we know that the thymus gland is connected to the immune body. But
And where's the thymus gland located?
it's right here.
Okay.
Yep.
Chest.
Yeah, right. It's what some consider to be the high heart.
Okay.
Okay, it's up in this area, and it's a very small. It's not that big. But I focus more on the spiritual outputs of this. So, we know that, like the work of Louise Hay, I don't know if you're familiar with her stuff, but, heal your body.
Right.
And what she talks about is that, every part of the body is just a message telling you what's happening on a deeper level, psyche, emotional, things like that. Part of your conditioning, the way that you carry yourself, it's always speaking to you. And it's no different with these other parts of the body, this endocrine system. So the pineal gland really is considered to be, and has been considered for ages and ages, going all the way back into ancient times, to be the bridge between the physical and spirit world. And the hypothalamus brings the body into a spiritual homeostasis. Okay, so it really balances you out there in that spiritual world.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pituitary is what gives us divine will. Okay?
Okay.
So divine will is basically, we've all had those moments where you have an idea, and usually what happens is you have an idea,
Mm-hmm.
and then the first thing that comes up is, well, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to think? I don't have enough money. There's not enough time. There's not enough space. It's, all these things. Divine will is active when you have that idea and you just do it.
You go for it.
You have no, there's nothing else in your mind. And you make it happen. And it's usually at the end of the divine will act that you turn and go, I don't even know how I made that happen. So.
Which is truly the divine.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where we want divine will working through us. It's not, not my will. That's
right.
my will, thy will. So the pituitary gland, when activated, is responsible for that. The thymus gland is where our life's purpose is, the blueprint. And we're all after that, at least in the healing world, my world. They all come to me and say, I just want to know what I'm here for.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the cornerstone of the modality, the cranial temple activation. And it really does tie into light and how we can access that and bring the light into the physical form. And that's what we're doing.
By your energy work that you're doing with people and activating those glands,
Mm-hmm.
it's easier for people to live their life in light.
Absolutely.
In light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we are involving the light body. So there's another light word. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it, and light body is not a foreign word. Many people have heard that before. Unfortunately, there's been it's frequently interchanged with the energy body, and it's not the same thing. The energy body sits outside the body, and that's what we might be using in Reiki or energy work.
Mm-hmm.
The light body is situated in a very different place, and it's not so accessible, and yet through this modality we are accessing the light body. And if you consider the word of the acronym that I said, so you're
right.
talking about the love body, the integrity body, the gratitude body, the humility body, and the truth body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the energy that we're pulling from. It's actually the client's own light body that we're using during the session. So it's not any energy that we're pulling in from, source or my own energy.
Right, which is often what Reiki does, pulls from universal
Yes.
energy.
Yep.
Yeah. So in reading your bio, you've studied a lot of different modalities. So what drew you to focus on these particular glands now?
It definitely was not on purpose. I often joke that my mother and sister are nurses,
mm-hmm.
and I was always do not talk to me about your work. I don't want to hear about body fluids. I'm just not interested. I was interested in the world of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I never studied biology. And so when this work came to me, and it literally just came to me, it wasn't anything I was studying. I had a lot of homework to do, and I was challenged by it, to say the least. And it has changed my view about the physical body, and
mm-hmm.
I have learned a lot, but I did have to do my homework. So I was an energy practitioner for years, and I was happy doing that. And in early 2009, I began to feel something happening in the head area of my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an energy I've never felt before. And I had been doing certified, doing energy work for at least 10 years up to that point, or maybe 8 to 9. And I had no idea what was going on. And my clients liked it, and they noticed, and I loved it. And so I decided that I would try to figure this out, and I had gone to the bookstore to look at a biology book. I don't know if anybody's ever done that, but this is like, you cannot find them less than, feels like 3,000 pages
right.
long. Very overwhelming. And And I was actually going to buy one and study it. And I went in there and I looked at it, I put it right back on the shelf. I said, I will just, I don't need to really know. I'm just going to stay with the energy of it all.
Right.
But, you know, Spirit had a different idea for me. And later on that year, in August of 2009, I did see a class that came up on the pineal gland. And through my email, there was I opened the email and there was a brain with I'm sure a lot of people have seen this, with the very bright blue light in the middle of it. And I said, that is exactly what I'm doing. What is this called? And I had never heard of the pineal gland, and now it's my life.
Wow.
Yeah, so I took the certification course and learned some things about the pineal gland. And you know, and I just thought that was going to be the end of it, and that was just the beginning of a whirlwind that took place after that, and channeling this modality and bringing it to life, and all the information I was receiving, and in the way I was receiving it, and not challenged to trust it. And I'm glad that I hung in there, because it has been the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and I never thought it would happen. You know, so it was one of those things.
It found you.
It found me.
Yeah, it found you.
Yeah.
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 So could you describe what a cranial temple activation does for a person, or what the benefits would be that people would experience?
Yeah, the activation is, it's actually, is a multitude of, there's so many things that it touches on. And basically the bottom line of the activation is it opens you to the next stage of whatever your evolution is. So wherever you are in your life, sometimes people come to me and they're in a relationship that they feel stuck in. You know, they're really feeling stuck. They've tried everything, but they are feeling like they can't leave. And they have the activation. They're not telling me this when they come. They have learned to live numb in the relationship, so they're not even really aware anymore at that point, and perhaps they feel hopeless and have given up. And they come and get the activation, and next thing you know, 2-3 months later, they're leaving that relationship, you know, and their whole lives are changing, or it's a job, or, you know, new opportunities open up for these people. So basically through the activation, just from activating the pineal gland itself, is bringing in a higher awareness, or activating the antenna that dials into your connection to source, basically is what it is. So it opens you up to be more of a channel to your higher self, you know, and to that blueprint for yourself, your purpose. So anything that's in your path that isn't serving that will be cleared away. Yeah. And sometimes it's uncomfortable, you know, for people to have their lives changed so much.
Change is not always easy.
It isn't, but, you know, we have all dealt with change with or without an activation, you know, so it's just whatever's in line for you to do next is usually what is cleared. You know, some people spontaneously stop drinking coffee. You know, they say, I was a coffee drinker all my life, and ever since the activation, I haven't been, I don't touch any coffee. That's been very common lately. I'm curious about that one. I can't really say why this happens. I know on a very spiritual level why these things are happening. It is part of our human evolution. These changes are going on regardless if you have an activation or not. It's just having the activation is really bringing you into the experience of it, and it does quicken the process for you.
So the change with a healthier diet, you're thinking is it's just the body realigning to its better health or improved health? Or
yeah, because, you know, when we're taking in stimulants, when we're taking in heavy processed foods, foods that clog us up, slow us down, things like that, it's just another way for us to stay asleep in our life. And when we're in that state, it's nearly impossible for us to really make any changes, to really connect to that purpose, where you know, you really need to be awake to that, you know, and like you said, in alignment. I like that word that you used. That's definitely a requirement to moving into a greater, higher awareness with yourself, is to be in alignment more with source. And it's hard to get into that lighter vibration when you're ingesting heavy toxins, you know, or things that are knocking you out of balance and off kilter. So that's why I think it's just a spontaneous thing. I mean, people have, totally changed their diets radically without even, it wasn't anything they ever thought of. You know, going raw, craving more alive foods, you know, things like that. So, yeah.
So we'll give your contact information at the end so people can reach you directly or visit your website. But I'm curious what type of person might be searching for this, or what they would come to you with. Is it, you know what I'm saying? Is it someone who is searching for spiritual development? Is it someone who, like you said, is in a stuck relationship and knows about energy work and feels maybe this is the next phase for them?
Yeah.
Is there a description of the person, or it's a whole range of people who find you?
I have activated several children.
Okay.
So, you know, it is part, like I said, it's part of our evolution that we're in right now as we are evolving consciously. So there's a conscious evolution happening, which means we are raising our vibration, and we are, once your vibration begins to raise, what happens is you live a more holistic life. So your thinking is more holistic, your eating is more holistic, your behavior is more holistic, your things that you seek are more holistic, what you attract to you is more holistic, things like that. Things become more in balance, and I really believe that we are all shifting into that anyway. I just can't really say that there's any person that would not be suited for the activation. Yeah. And majority of people that come is they are looking for a change. You know, they're ready to be part of, consciously be part of the movement for themselves.
So what would you say are some of the biggest energetic shifts that you're seeing with humanity now?
Oh, boy. Well, first of all, I think, you know, back when I was, say, 1978, I can remember the word ESP being such a, ooh, I have ESP, you have ESP. And really what ESP meant was intuition. That's what we were really talking about. And we couldn't even say the word intuition. And now we're in a place where even my father uses the word intuition. You know?
Well, he's had a good teacher.
Without batting an eye. I don't know how much he listens to me. But, you know, so I just think that collectively we are moving into a state of higher awareness. You know, and you'll see this with the way that we want to treat our animals, you know, with the big animal movements that are happening. Higher consciousness around the plants, higher consciousness around our food, this whole non-GMO thing. I mean, so many of us see this going through. If you're on Facebook, you've seen these pass through, Monsanto and all these things that, you know, we're just becoming more and more aware of who's in charge and what degree of it is killing us. And that I think we want to be alive more, you know, so there's this thirst to be alive, you know, in our lives, and to feel enriched and to have purpose. That's probably the biggest thing that I'm seeing right now is people are thirsty for their purpose. Why am I here? Why am I here? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good. Something I know that I'm still trying to learn about are the crystal grids. So I'm wondering if you could explain a little bit about that and how that ties into your work.
So the crystal grids are, of course, this is we're talking about other dimensions right now. So this is a much higher vibration than what we can actually hold here in the physical world. And the crystal grids, you know, if you Google it, you can find so much information. I'm not the only one talking about this or working with it. My understanding, what I know about the crystal grids that I work with is it is a network, an etheric network of energy that is our communication seed to the star plant, to the stars, to the other universes, and to source itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of our phone wire, or our cell tower, so to speak, to spirit world. And I don't mean those that crossed over. I'm talking universal, ascended masters, and the source energy, the life force energy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's where we can communicate through.
Mm-hmm. So we're not picking up the cell phone to do that. So how is it that we communicate using the crystal grid?
Well, if you think about it this way, if you look at Dr. Emoto's work, okay,
And
he's the water guy, right?
Yeah, so let's share with our viewers a little bit more about that.
Yeah, Dr. Emoto, he looks at water crystals,
Mm-hmm.
And
he's Japanese, I believe?
he is, I think he is, yes. And he has a book out, and again, you look for him on the website, you're going to see him all over the place. And I love his work,
Mm-hmm.
because what his work tells us is that that crystals, that our body reacts to a certain vibration,
Mm-hmm.
and that words create a certain vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts create a certain vibration.
And his work revolves around taking pictures, I think, of water crystals.
Yes.
And assigning different labels.
Yep.
To the bottles of water, and
Yes.
then
So one vial will say love, and another
Mm-hmm.
vial will say hate, and then he will take a, he'll examine the crystals, and you can tell the hate crystals are very chaotic looking. They're not
Irregular.
something that you would feel is beautiful. Yes,
Mhm.
they're irregular. And then you look at the love water crystal, which is just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to lakes and things like that. So he'll go to a diseased lake and take crystals from there, a sample, and then he'll document the crystals that are in the water, and then he'll bring a prayer group down, or a group of people down, to pray to this body of water. Takes the sample afterwards. The crystals have changed.
Wow.
And then the one that I love the most, and this was done with rice. This isn't with crystals, but we have to remember, there's crystals in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has, our blood has crystal. We are 80% water, so we have water crystals in our body.
Right.
So they had 2 vats of cooked rice at a college, and they put one in one classroom and one in another classroom. Classroom A was instructed to, every morning when you walk in, they did this for, I believe, for a week. Every morning when you walk into the classroom, you say something very loving to the jar of rice, so that the students would go in and say, "Oh, rice, I love you." "Hello, rice, my best friend. What did I ever do without you?" All these beautiful things. And then classroom B was instructed to, every morning when they go in, to be mean to the rice. So they were going to say, "Rice, I hate you. You're ugly. This whole thing." So after a week, classroom A's rice was beautiful. It was still fluffy. It was in perfect condition. And classroom B's rice had turned black.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Rice.
Wow.
So you can imagine how our bodies react to even the most subliminal conversation that's happening at a grocery store that we're not even part of. Just picking up those waves. And that's what it is. It's like
negativity.
Yeah, it's like it's sound waves and vibration that we're constantly picking up. So we definitely have the ability to tap into these grids. We have the ability to tap into anything, by using that system of our body. That's what we're doing.
I'm also thinking about self-talk.
Absolutely.
All the negative self-talk that we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know enough about that. There are a lot of teachers out there that are coaching us and writing books and doing a great job with, helping us turn that around.
Yeah.
Very important. Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to say more about the crystal grid?
In these grids, there are, the way I see it, because there's also magnetic grids, which a lot of people are familiar with, the magnetic grid. I mean, the weathermen talk about the magnetic grid, and science does. The magnetic grid is how the animals migrate.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And what we know about the pineal gland in animals is that there's magnetic material in there. So that is their, that's how that they connect to the magnetic grid and know where to go.
Wow.
Okay, so it's like their navigation system. So what we know is happening by certain science, technology tools, things like that, that can measure certain things, is that the magnetic grids have been shifting. And this has been a huge part of what we're going through right now. It's the Earth's time to change. That's all it is. It's just time. It's what all the other planets are doing. There's been a speed up. It's, you know, it's time for us to evolve. And we are definitely core to Mother Earth. This is our home. So why wouldn't we be shifting too? You know, we can't not shift with her. But these grids, when the magnetic grid does it has to be a certain degree of a shift at once, that's when you start to see the whales beached. That's when you'll see the dolphins showing up like last year. This time, well, a few months earlier. It was the beginning of last year. Cape Cod was having a tremendous amount. I went up there, you know, we did work on the waters and the grids and the waters up there and everything. There were hundreds of dolphins that were being beached. I mean, it's just such a anomaly. So what is happening here? But that's how we know. Or, you know, you start to see that the birds are getting lost, or what's happening with the bees, or, you know, things like that. But that's due to the magnetic grid. So the Earth herself has a grid, and at the core of the Earth is the crystal. So it's like this web. It's like all these facets of this web that is interconnected, that we can utilize as systems of communication and receiving information of what this place is really about and what we can do to be better planet keepers, you know, if we're going to stay here. And so the crystal grids are a very important part of my work. And I did start doing, I do light code activations as well, which is more remote. So, and that is where I'm utilizing all of the grids and receiving these light codes. Okay,
Again, that word.
That word again, yeah, because it really is. Right now is really, it's all about the light, and it's all about bringing in that life force energy and anchoring it to the planet, because that's really what's happening right now, and long time coming, actually. And so people from all over the world join in on these light code sessions, and they're only 30 minutes long, but the work that we do on, you know, our physical bodies and on the planet at the same time is really important to helping the shift along. Because here's what happens, Lisa. You know, you have an evolutionary process that takes place, and what do we know? With change comes chaos or destruction, you know. So that's what we're seeing a lot of right now, okay, on the planet, with the weather, even with human beings. You know, we go, what's this brutality, and why are we killing ourselves and each other, and what's going on with the weather patterns, and why are we having tsunamis, and why are we having, you know, when the volcanoes are just erupting all over the place, and it's very erratic. And so what that tells us is that the energy needs to be settled. It needs to be matched more. There's too much of an imbalance. There's a new energy that's rushing in, and it's meeting this other energy that's going in the opposite direction. So we know when a storm is coming from both directions, what happens? It creates a greater storm, or what some would consider the perfect storm, which is a storm that we do not want to be in. And so that's what's happening right now. So the more that we can do this work, the easier the shift will happen for all of us.
So it sounds like the ultimate value of the shift will be beneficial and positive to mankind, but there's going to be a period of time that maybe we're more uncomfortable than usual. And that's an opportunity for us to evolve our spiritual practice and way of life.
And really to uncover our purpose. You know, we definitely are here for a reason. and to be asking that question and to seeking that answer is really what our work is about. Being of service. You know, where am I part of this? There is so much more to do. You know, if we're going to get into the sustainable living and things like that, and the solar powered, you know, all this stuff that we know is right here at our fingertips, and all the new technologies that are, you know, getting ready to emerge and things like that. So there are a lot of things to do. It's where do you fit in? You know, what is my purpose? And am I here to make the shift? Am I here to be behind the scenes? Am I here, you know, what is my piece here? You know, someone's purpose is to be a nurse. You know, that is someone's life purpose. They came here to do that. That was their destiny. Others are nurses and they know it's not their destiny. They know that they came here to be a healer. They're doing it through a nursing program or in a hospital, yet they feel unfulfilled. So maybe they're supposed to be more of a hands-on healer or use energy or crystals or something like that. And those people will know because they'll feel a little off. And right now, I would say the majority of what I'm seeing with people, especially those that are a little more in tune with what we're talking about here, what I'm seeing more and more is those people, their lives are starting to fall apart a little more quickly because they're closer to knowing what their purpose is, you know, to asking that question.
So the kind of status quo just doesn't work for them?
Will
anymore?
not be supported anymore. Will not be supported.
And
It's those people that are asking, you know, saying, can you give me something? Can you, you know, and then all of a sudden, boom, and it's like, why is this happening? You say, well, you wanted something to change.
Right.
You know, you can't go on in this loveless marriage or this, you know, this dead-end job or whatever the thing is.
I don't know if you could answer this question or not, and sometimes I feel my view of the world is somewhat distorted because I feel I have a pretty active spiritual life. So those around me, close to me, are like that. Do you have a sense of what the masses are? Do you know what I'm saying? Like what the typical, you know, North Haven, Wallingford population, percentage-wise, how many people are spiritual seekers, or how many people are starting to awaken to this? Questioning? You know, I guess my question to you is how mainstream is this information? Is this kind of shift being felt by folks? Or is it more separated to people that really are on a very committed spiritual path? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. You know, when you start bringing yoga into the YMCA, you know that there's shifts happening. That's a big thing. The YMCA is pretty big for families. And when you start bringing Reiki into the hospitals, that's another big thing. The grocery stores are now being more conscious about having an organic food section. So I think we're seeing the movement happening. What's nice now is that these things are available to the mainstream person so that they can just happen upon it or make the choice while they're in the grocery store. They've never really thought about organic, but something catches their eye, and then before you know it, you know, they're on their path. Where I think in, you know, the not too many years ago, it was very subjective to a certain group of people, and you could only find it if you knew about it. Where now it's really coming into where the mainstream population is, so it's available. It's more available to them. Right. Yeah, which is very hopeful. It's just another sign.
Right.
Another sign.
And I'm thinking too that the internet would have a huge impact on getting information out to people that are searching.
Absolutely.
Because you just have to Google something.
Yeah, you just really have to go on Facebook and type in a topic that you're looking for. I mean, and all these groups will come up and all these, you know, fan pages, and you can find people in subject matter all over the place. Yeah. Which is kind of a double-edged sword, you know. But you know, that will, because there's a lot of information out there too that would not serve you, perhaps, you know, and it's not a be careful thing. It's more, I would tell somebody, this is where you get to practice your intuition. You have it. It's working 24/7. It's never not working. The difference is, are you accustomed to trusting it? Can you listen to it? You know, if you're reading a piece of information and your body feels tense or says, oh, I don't know about this, trust that, you know, instead of letting that other part of you override that perhaps was conditioned as a child to say, be polite, let everybody else first, you're last. If that part overrides, then that part will say, oh, just be quiet and, you know, this is good for you and keep reading this or something. But we really need to make a distinction between those two at this point in our lives, and go more with the intuition.
You know, I like the fact that you just said that it's there 24/7 for you, because I was reminded recently that I didn't listen. I made a decision about something at work, and I didn't listen. And 2 weeks later, I said, I should have listened. So it is there. It is there. But you're right. There's when we don't listen, what is that block? What is that block that keeps us from trusting ourselves?
It's the conditioning that we have. It's what I call the 3D matrix. You know, in my work, I talk about the two pieces in terms of the 3D matrix and the source matrix. And the 3D matrix is where we are living from duality. Okay, it's from, you know, when you're a child, you know you are taught what's right and what's wrong. You are shown good and bad through your own behavior. And it's all just conditioning, because every household is different. So it all depends on how our parents are thinking, or our caregivers, or the teacher that we have, or, you know, whatever the influences were. But it conditions us. It's a domestication process that we all go through. The key is, because that's not going to change, the key is, what do you do with it as an adult as you start coming into this awareness in your life, and you notice that you're creating the same havoc in your life, or you're creating the same, you're making the same choices in relationships, or, you know, whatever the case may be. Perhaps you're struggling with weight, or you're struggling with not being able to exercise, all those things that are very, very important to us. Finances, that's another huge one. You know, you have to look at the conditioning. You have to look at the tapes that are running 24/7 in your mind. And that's the 3D matrix. You know, it's based on what our ancestors passed down to us. It's the DNA from our parents, their thought processes, the mass, the collective. You know, a lot of times we want to go with the status quo because it's just easier to fit in than it is to stand apart and say, whoa, wait a minute, I don't feel like that. And then we have the source matrix, which is really about living more with the universal DNA, that we look at source, or the universe, as our mother, father, as our parents, our true parents. And it's not to negate your biological parents at all. We just want to tap into and awaken that other part of us. You know, we hear a lot about mind, body, spirit, and if, you know, that's where the balance is, that mind, body, spirit. And so source matrix, we want to wake that up. That definitely. So you're talking about getting stuck. It's when you're in that 3D world. Yeah, it's where the drama is, and it hooks you, and, you know, and you're getting into, well, they have it, so that means I can't have it, or I'm going to have it and take it from them, and then they can't have it. And in source matrix, it doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I just had a thought pop into my head when you said that's where the drama is in the 3D. The long-standing soap operas, a lot of them have gone off TV. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
We don't have a need for it.
Right. We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. You know, and I also, and there's been this huge rush of the reality TV. Is the big thing now. And I think that, you know, the reality TV, while it gives us more of a high, you know, to watch, because you're believing it's real, even though that's all coached too. You know, it's not really reality. But perhaps it's more real too, you know, our life situations or whatever. I think that it is allowing us to take a look at our own lives. You know, it really is allowing us to take a look at our own lives. Yeah, more than if we were watching something that we just knew was set up.
Right.
You know, so, yeah.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, TV would be a whole other discussion.
Well,
How we
actually,
are
a lot of
influenced by
people
TV.
that do the cranial tempo work, that's another side effect. It's the coffee goes, the TV goes.
Interesting.
It's off all the time, can't watch it, because when you start to shift your vibration, the static, the electromagnetic field that comes off of the TV is so bothersome. It so interrupts this field. I do not watch TV. I can watch movies. There's a different energy that's emitted from the movies because it's because the intention that it was created with was art. Okay? It's art. So it's a different type of energy that comes from it.
Interesting.
It is. And not all movies are art. So there are movies that I go, I can't just, you know, so I'm very even selective with the movies that I watch. Something like The Life of Pi. I mean, my goodness, I don't know if you've seen it,
Yes,
but
I did. Yeah, it's beautiful.
it's so beautiful, you know. But TV, I never watch it. And I'm always looking to turn it off in my house. You know, I have children, so, you know, they like to watch TV, but they don't even watch it that much anymore. So, yeah, that's a huge change.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. So another particular modality I wanted to ask you about was vibrational response therapy. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, that was something that developed within me as well. That was not taught to me by anybody. So what that is I see clients one-on-one, and when I'm talking to them, I'm listening to what they're saying, but more I'm watching a picture that's developing as they're talking to me. So they may be complaining about their boss or their spouse, and as they're complaining, what's happening over here in their field is they're showing me a picture of the ideal situation of what they do want. And most oftentimes they're only talking to me about what's terrible because they don't have a clear, they can't see this consciously, this other picture, but it seems to come out when they're doing that. And then it's like there's an artist there painting it and drawing it all out. And so, and I watch this take place, and then they go on and on and on. And I go, okay, and now I start talking to them based on the picture that I saw from that vibration. So they have this very spiky, charged vibration. And then I start taking the vibration from what I'm seeing over here, and then I pass it to the client as I start talking. And then this exchange, this vibration starts happening. So that's where the name vibrational response therapy came up with, is that, I mean, that's how that was developed. So I am responding vibrationally to what it is that you want.
I see.
I'm not going to respond to what you're telling me about over here. And quickly, the client's vibration changes. So that's the first thing that I'm looking for. So once I get the vibration change, then I can start working with the psyche and the conditioning, and we could start looking at certain pieces that, you know, were lodged in there, and then energetically, by working with you, I can begin to move these things in the body with the help of the client who's now starting to open.
So it's another form of energy healing?
Yeah, but it's just done like this, through a conversation.
Not hands-on?
Nope.
Wow.
Sometimes I do hands-on in the, you know, on the massage table still, but I don't really go there much unless the client is just saying, I really would like a relaxing session. You know, I don't want to talk. I just want to. But for the most part, you know, I find this is fine.
Wow.
Yeah, I could do it over the phone. I mean, these are things that, you know, we know now can be done remotely. Yeah.
Okay, I have another question for you. The 4 bodies of living consciousness. That's a phrase I've not heard before.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
My self-mastery work.
Okay.
Yeah, boy, it feels like a lifetime ago. The 4 bodies of living consciousness are basically physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. And the reason why I put them in categories of bodies of living consciousness is because each body is a living consciousness that we do live from. And in the self-mastery program, what we are doing is we are looking at where are you in your physical body of consciousness. You know, where do you live from? What do your finances look like? What is, you know, are you driving illegally? I mean, you know, we start right at the very bottom, and I want to go up and see how your physical life is situated, you know, and then we go into your emotional body of living conscious, you know, and then we're going to look and see where that's all balancing out. And then, you know, we get into the mental and, you know, where are your thoughts, and do you practice the law of attraction and things like that. And the reason why it's so important to do it in that order is because then we're looking at the spiritual. And, you know, you cannot truly develop a spiritual body of consciousness without those other three being in balance. So the biggest mistake that people make is that they're not doing their own inner work. So they jump on a bandwagon, so to speak, a spiritual thought. They follow a spiritual teacher. They take these spiritual classes, and they start learning the work. And they might even start applying it, and they may even become a practitioner. And it will work for as long as it works. But the truth is that you cannot really authentically be in that body of consciousness without the other three being in balance. So you need to have that foundation in order to truly get that spiritual peace. Because those people, what you'll find is, yeah, they're working this, but their life is a mess. You know, they're working, they're there, they're in the office, they're talking it, they're saying all these things. They're unhappy, or they're sick, or, you know, things are happening.
Something's just not in alignment.
Yeah, and it's not to say that they're bad or wrong or anything, but you are working with a body of consciousness that you are not able to be fully grounded in, because your physical, your emotional, and your mental lives or bodies of consciousness are out of alignment. And that is usually not, could be pretty detrimental when you go that far into something like that. And, you know, we've heard stories about what happens, you know, with people, and I'm, you know, don't need to get into, you know, that, but, you know, it could be very detrimental. Right. And there's a lot of practitioners out there that are what we call fly-by-nights. You know, it's a movement that happened. You know, everybody's, you know, a Reiki practitioner. Everybody's, you know, and years ago, you could not get a Reiki certification in one day. You know, it just wasn't possible. Right. And now, if I step into your average Reiki class, you know, it's pretty scary. All the elements that they're missing, and that there isn't they're not connecting. They're not connecting the four bodies of consciousness for the practitioner. Right. To truly be able to make the adjustments that people are going to come to them to do. You know, so it's just like any other career, or, you know, it's you know, you're going to have the people that are really skilled at what they're doing, and then you're going to have, you know, people that are just doing this job. Right. You know, so, right. But that's what is also being cleared out. That's why that's why the evolution of humanity right now is calling forth the purpose. Okay.
What is your purpose?
Because we need healers in the world. Right. We need healers. Right. You know, we need true healers. There's a lot of pioneers that are out there. They're starting to age. You know, Wayne Dyer, he's what, 70 something? Yeah. Carolyn Mace. I mean, all these pioneers, these wonderful people that have laid the groundwork, you know, they're getting into retirement age. Or probably not, because they love what they do, but, you know, they're getting up there. We just lost Stuart Wilde, right? He just died. I think it was in May 1st, I believe. So, you know, it's time. It's time.
We have about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if we could wrap it up with talking about how the light codes are raining into the grids this year, and tie that together for people. Okay. And what that really means. Yeah,
so the light codes are, I talked about the crystal grid, and that, you know, we could pull the information through. So the light codes are basically, they're geometric, it's like color, sound, and geometry, vibration. And because that's really what everything is anyway. You know, that's what everything's made up of. You know, we could, the illusion is that this is solid, or that's, you know, the table is solid. But the truth is, it's just, you know, we know this by watching What the Bleep. The light codes are the communication from the universe, and also healing codes. So what I say on a personal level, the way a light code works is, when you read somebody coming in, okay, a room, and everybody's had this experience where you get that, oh boy, I don't want to go near that person. Well, you haven't even had a conversation with that person. How do you know? I'm sure it's not their clothing that's telling you that. And you may think that it is, but it definitely isn't. It's their vibration. And what happened to that person is that their codes got scrambled. Okay, so you're reading their codes, which are scrambled, and that feels off to you. Now your codes may be scrambled somewhere, and it may feel off to someone else. But when we sit in session and we pull in the light codes, what happens to that is that a vibrational alignment starts to happen, so that we can become more in alignment with the brilliance of the universal energy.
I see.
Okay, that's what's happening this year, big time.
The light codes are coming in.
Yeah, well, we had 2012, which was the Mayan calendar, which said, time was ending. Although we know that's not what happened. What really was happening is that was a symbol of blank slate, right? And then, so then we move into 2013 with no blueprint to follow whatsoever. And thank God, because we were following a blueprint that was like a clock on the wall. And so without that there, we have to ignite our own blueprint within, and that's where the light codes come in place. That's where they come in and tie in, is that it gets us in alignment with that.
And that's another modality that you offer to people?
Yes, and that's a remote. That's always, I do big group sessions.
Is it over the phone or
no?
no?
Not over the phone, no. What happens is people sign up and they register, and then their name goes on a list, and then I take it into a sacred space, and I sit at 9 o'clock at night, and I call in all the energies, and then we just do the work. And they're home, you could be sleeping, but make sure that you are not don't want you driving and things like that. And then the next day I send out an energy report from the session, what we worked on, what area of the body. It might be the lungs, the heart.
So if that's something somebody wants to pursue, we have a way for them to contact you.
Yeah, the information's on the website.
Wow, okay. Well, this has been great. We're already done with our time. A lot of good information.
Thanks.
And I would like to close our night with a quote. This is an anonymous source. And it says, this is very applicable tonight. Do not force others to awaken. Let the sleeping ones sleep as long as they wish. Just be ready to share awakened sight with them when they are ready. Also keep in mind that some are exactly where they need to be, ready to awaken to the right time and place for the learning of those around them. Let divine spirit drive it all, decide it all, and let your own heart concentrate on keeping your own feelings and thoughts aligned with what you know so far about love. As your thought expands to more uplifted levels, you will see the wisdom unfolding.
Beautiful.
Is that nice?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Very nice. Great. So we're going to have your contact information. People can get in touch with you through your website or email or phone.
Yes.
And here it is right now for Coleen. You can reach her at www.thespiritoflight.org. Her email is Coleen@thespiritoflight.org, and her phone number would be 203-641-3371. Okay? Great. And to learn more about this show or any of our past shows, please contact us at healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com. You can reach Rosemary LaChance at 203-627-7966, or her website is www.rosemarylachance.com. To reach me, my phone number is 203-804-0024. My website is www.theonejoycenterforwellness.com, and we are also on Facebook under Healing Outside the Box. Okay. Is there any final thoughts you'd like to leave us with tonight?
Pursue your purpose.
Pursue your purpose.
Yeah. Yes. Start asking the questions.
And the answers will come.
Oh, yes. That will take you where you will find the answers. You may not always like where they are, but you will find them.
Great. It's been really great. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Fill your thirst beside the river. wash the journey